Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Norton, the founder of People Plus Purpose, and this is the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast. And today, my special guest is Brittany Miller. Brittany is a social media and marketing consultant, speaker, and educator who empowers businesses and personal brands to navigate the complexities of social media with simplified, actionable strategies. I love that. Welcome to the podcast, Brittany.
Thank you so much, Matthew. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, thank you. I've been excited as well to have a chance to speak and to kind of share your pearls of wisdom and just your creativity. I just know that you bring a lot of creativity to the work that you're doing. So, um, I wanted to start with something that was just I found kind of stalking you a little bit, right? Perusing your information that I thought we could chat about to begin. So in there, you ask, when it comes to using social media for your business, have you ever felt, and I thought this was good, frustrated, like no one is engaging with my content? Is this a waste of time? Overwhelmed? What should I even post about? Where do I start? No time. Social media takes too long, and I don't have time for this. So, I mean, I could hear myself as I was reading that going, yeah, I think I've said all those things. So, I don't think there's anybody who wouldn't have had one or more of those be kind of their lament, right? So, how do you overcome this with people? How do you help them reframe maybe the importance and then like a way through?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I will be honest, even though I am a social media consultant and this is what I do, I have had moments where I have felt those exact same things. There is no one out there who doesn't feel like that at times, especially with how quickly social media is constantly changing, evolving, new trends. Even me just saying those things feels overwhelming. And so the first thing that I like to do with clients is just to acknowledge all of those points and be like, this is normal. You are not the only one who's feeling frustrated because you spent all this time creating a post and no one engaged with it. You are not the only one who is feeling stuck, knowing what should I even post about on my social media. And you're not the only one who also feels like, I feel like this should be done faster. And it's like, actually, the reality is nowadays, social media does take time. So let's like allow ourselves to know that's all normal. And then the other thing I like to do with clients is to really look at their industry and allow ourselves to be like, there are certain industries that are going to receive more engagement on their content than others.
Mhm.
And there are specific types of content we want to create and share online that is going to encourage that engagement. So, as an example, I have a client who is a personal injury lawyer. And if we all ask ourselves, how many of us are following and engaging with personal injury lawyers on our social media? Not probably very often.
Right, right.
But the whole purpose for her is that brand awareness, because when someone gets in a car accident and now they're looking to hire someone, which is exactly how the process goes, they'll often Google them and then go to their social media to see if they are active, if what they share is aligned with that person's values, to then decide who they want to choose. So sometimes it really is ultimately brand awareness piece. We want to make sure we're being relevant. So again, just kind of looking at what is our industry so we can create that realistic strategy that works for us. So that's probably like the main piece to come back to is what is our industry, and then do we have what is our capacity right now so we can put in place a plan that works for us? Are we a solopreneur and we're trying to do it all ourselves? Or do we have a team member that we could potentially start to train and offboard some of these elements to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So the metrics might be different in a sense, given different demographics of who we're trying to reach. So the way we may be determining whether we're being meaningful or having any sort of effect could be different for one person than another. And I like what you're saying. It's like you're kind of speaking my language in terms of a personalized approach, just like we were chatting before about assessments and things like that, which means not everything is the same for, for you as it is for me or for somebody else, right? How do we tailor what we're doing. So I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the piece you touched on looking at those metrics, because a lot of times when I work with clients, at first they're like, oh, this post didn't get a lot of likes or comments.
Right.
So it must have not done well. But
Right.
I'm like, no, if we were talking and promoting your services and people went and clicked to your website, hey, that's the metric we want to look at. So what is the end goal for that piece of content?
Yeah.
And use that for us to determine, is it performing the way we ideally want it to?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's so many factors in this. I don't think it would make sense to much of anybody to think that I shouldn't have some presence in social media, or I shouldn't have an online presence. I mean, it just doesn't make sense in today's world. But then what does work, and how much time does that take? And is it me that needs to do it? I mean, how often do you end up in conversations where it's like, the reason that question is coming up is I'm the visionary leader. Maybe I'm the one, I've got certain responsibilities, and what I'm supposed to be then spending time doing posts, liking and commenting on other people's posts. I mean,
Right.
so how do you address that? Or what are some of the things that you see as solutions maybe for that particular problem?
Yeah. So one solution that often people first look at is, I just need to outsource, which seems and sounds very reasonable because we only have so much time.
Mhm.
But nowadays, social media is, depending again on your practice and your brand, but ultimately a lot of it is, we are our brand and we need to bring that forward with our socials and with our online presence. So we need to see that if we're going to outsource our social media content, it's truly a partnership and we still need to be involved in some way, whether that means willing to take photos of ourselves to then share with that agency or freelancer so they can create that online presence for us. When I was doing social media management, I don't do that currently anymore. I now consult and train people and their team on how to do it. But when I was doing it, I would get two types of people working with me. There was the person who was like, thank God this is off my plate, and they'd hand it off to me, and then I would never hear from them again. And I'd be like, hey, can you get me photos and videos?
Right.
Wouldn't get anything. They're like, you stock. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to perform well at all.
Right.
And it didn't. And
Right.
then they felt like it was a waste of money and time, versus the clients who were like, yeah, can you train me and teach me how I'm supposed to film this video or take this photo for you, which I would.
Right.
And then when we would use that personalized content and they knew how to show up for me as their social media manager, it completely changed their results. And so I often recommend to people to understand the foundations of social media so that when you get to a point where you are outsourcing it,
Mhm.
you understand that you are a partner in the process and you're really maximizing that ROI and return on investment.
Yeah, that's good because it needs to be you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if we're talking to doctors, hygienists, other people in a dental practice, then it needs to be reflective of the brand, right? But also
Mhm.
just the humans that are within that practice,
Yeah.
this organization. So it has to be personalized, right? It has to reflect them.
It totally does. And another way to think about it too is encouraging anyone who's listening to scroll on your social media, like when you are scrolling on your social media and you do engage with a piece of content, stop and be like, why did I like that or feel the need to comment on that?
Mhm.
And then if you scrolled right past something, go back and be like, wait, why did I not engage with this?
That's good.
And oftentimes it's so fascinating to realize the ones we scroll past are the ones that just didn't feel personable. It
Mhm.
was just a stock photo of a dental hygienist chair. So why am I going to comment and like on this, right?
Right.
Versus, oh, I've seen the team, like a team
Right. Yeah.
picture or a before and after transformation
Right.
was
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
that's what's going to encourage me to engage. So really think about, well, however I am engaging and using social media is probably how my target audience is. So how can I create content for them?
Yeah, that's very good, very good. So if we're talking about the need for video content, for photos and that sort of thing, then what if people don't have those things currently? I mean, you mentioned stock kind of stuff. I mean, do they use that, or how do you guide them relative to developing, to getting some video or photo content?
Yeah. So when it comes to stock photos and videos, there's kind of two ways to look at it. One, sometimes people and businesses can feel like, oh, I need to use stock so I look professional.
Hmm.
But when we think about the content we engage with, it's not usually the professional stuff, it's the personable.
Yeah.
And the personable is what includes and showcases you, your team, the office, or your dental clinic. I want to get an idea of like, if I'm potentially thinking of coming to your dental clinic, like what is the experience going to be like when I come there? And using someone else's videos and photos, one, it can create this disconnect because if I see that you look like this place and then I actually enter and it's not, I'm completely thrown off, even if it's at a subconscious level.
Right.
And so what I recommend to people is then don't be afraid to just use your phone and capture content with your phone and video with your phone to get started. That is going to be the best way. Because again, sometimes we think, oh, I need to invest in a videographer or a brand photographer. And then now that just sounds really, really expensive. But if we're creating content for social media and we're trying to put together a 30-second reel, please just use your phone.
Right.
Clean that lens because we are all a little bit greasy and smudgy. So clean your camera lens on your phone and get started using that. And you'll be able to just capture a lot more content that way that you can use that actually shows your office and your team.
That's great because that helps me personally because I was going to use a stock image of a guy conducting a podcast interview today, even. And
Oh,
just kidding.
oh,
Just
okay, I was gonna be like, let me take a photo of you. I'm gonna come to come to San Diego. We'll do it for you.
yeah. This is not actually me right now. This is actually
Yeah,
a
right.
stock image of a guy talking.
Yeah, it's AI. We are next
Yeah.
level AI podcasters out there, interviewers.
Yeah. So no, I think that was all really good. So as you were talking about being personable, because I agree, and so that kind of leads into stories, right? It being personal is, we all have stories, and people, we watch movies and things because we love stories, and so it's stories that really engage. So um, can you talk to us about visual storytelling and kind of what that means? And, what are your thoughts on how a practice could incorporate that?
Yeah, for sure. So visual storytelling is ultimately utilizing any sort of imagery, graphics, photos, video to be able to communicate your brand's values and message in a visual format to your followers and to your audience, with the goal of being able to create some sort of emotional response, whether that's laughter, humor, sadness, like some sort of emotion, or being able to communicate a complex message in a simplified, easy to understand way. So, a couple of ideas of what this could look like is a dentist creating a video of them talking to the camera, so their phone, and explaining how to properly brush your teeth. Or if you have, let's say they focus primarily on kids, pediatric dentistry, maybe how to, as an adult, start brushing your kids' teeth as a baby. I actually literally have no idea how to do that. I'd have to Google that, right? Like that's a piece of content that you can create and easily share and show in a visual way. And how that makes it like a story is you have a beginning. This is how you brush your teeth if you have a toddler. Middle, you're giving me the value, showing me how to do it. And then end is usually a call to action, whether that's come visit our practice or you get an I don't know, making this up, but maybe those under 3 come for free. I don't know, but like something to encourage people to engage with your content or to promote your dentistry office. But again, we're kind of leading them through a little bit of a story
Okay.
in 30 seconds in a visual format.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do you see that different, like through a social media exposure element versus, say, things you might have on a website? And I'm asking that maybe in part to the value of, say, the doctors or any other team member with a brief video sharing a little bit more about them as a human being, right? Why they care about what they're doing, a little bit, maybe briefly about their story, a little longer than a 30-second thing, but more like within a few minutes, maybe, of something that might be posted on the website, or I guess could still be delivered via social media in a little bit longer format. But what do you think about the value of story in the sense of about them, not so much even a service, something they're educating about, or how does that?
Yeah. Yeah. So this kind of ties into a framework that I like to teach on and talk about, which is my ACS framework. And so what you're talking about would be part of the C framework. So I'll quickly just explain the framework and then answer your question. So the ACS framework is how I help clients brainstorm content ideas more strategically so they create this holistic presence online that helps them build like, know, and trust with their followers.
Good.
And so A stands for authority and awareness. So this would be that educational piece of content, the how do you brush your teeth for a toddler kind of content.
Right.
And you can turn that into a video like I had explained earlier.
Mhm.
Other ideas for that would be anything that showcases your credibility. Maybe your office won 2024 Dentistry of the Year by your local chamber, or you're featured in the news for some reason. Those are good credibility pieces that help build our authority. The C,
Those could even be like advanced educational elements or unique technology, maybe that they use. Would that fit into the A as well?
yeah, that would definitely fit into the A. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
The C then stands for connection. So this is the type of content that helps us relate to our followers. And this is where that founder story can fall under. So sharing the about me that you would maybe have on your website and turning that into a easy to digest piece of content on social media. So whether that's an introduction post or a video post that shows like day in the life as our hygienist, Lisa. And like she creates a little behind the scenes of what she does throughout the day. And we put that together, which lets you get to know who Lisa is and what she does as a hygienist, but in a more creative way.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Taking something that is maybe on your website that has the whole about me and your huge founder story, we want to see how we can turn that into little bite-sized pieces for your followers and audience, because we need to remember how they're using social media. Oftentimes, people come to use social media as a distraction. And so they're just scrolling. And so if you have this really long caption or this really long video, you're going to lose people's interest. So we need to just see how can we take your story, make it bite-sized and engaging pieces of content to help us connect with your audience as well. And
Would that tend to be more like, I guess you could do it two different ways. You could record a number of elements of the story in a few minutes and then go back and edit it into brief clips, right? That you could use maybe to, if they answered a few different questions within that conversation that they're having, versus just trying to create them as separate and distinct bites.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I guess you could go either way, right? But
yeah, you could go either way with that. So you could do exactly what you said, where you record a longer form video and then you or a team member kind of chops it up into smaller edits into smaller pieces
Mhm.
so that it's really a little bit shorter, more concise, more engaging.
Mhm.
Or you could have, okay, we want to do a quick one on founder story, a quick one on our values, a quick one on day in the life as a dental practitioner. So you could kind of do it either way, whatever usually works best for that person and their team. Some people are like, let me just sit down and record a whole bunch of videos and then we just chop it up.
Yeah.
Other people prefer, I only got like 30 minutes here, and I blocked off 30 minutes once a week for this. So then we kind of will work within the time frame that works best for them.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
That's the A and the C.
Yep. And then the last one is the S. So S stands for selling. So this is making sure we are letting people know about our services or how they can work with us, if we are taking new patients or not, those before and afters. So that's the selling piece, which I find either dental practices either do too much of
Mhm.
or not enough of.
Right. Right.
Usually I find we fall into, not always, but a lot of times we fall into like the authority and educational content or a lot of the selling content, but we miss the big piece, which is the connection content.
Mhm.
And so even asking, so this is actually a really good example. I follow a coffee shop who is nowhere near the city that I'm in. They're in a whole other city, in a whole other province. And I follow them because I love coffee. I love seeing how people make coffee, but they make their content feel so relatable
Mhm.
that I love following them and engaging with their content. And since I've been following them for a while, they're called Atomic Coffee Roaster. I think they're in the States actually. I think they're in Salem. But now I'm like, I kind of want to buy some beans from Atomic Coffee Roasters because I just feel like I relate to their content so well.
Mhm.
And that's the power of it. So even as a dental office, how can you create content that helps you connect with your audience? Really thinking, what would my potential followers be interested in? How can I showcase the personality of our office and our dental practice team? What makes us unique,
Right.
um, in a way that feels relatable?
Yeah. I like that. And I think it's a great exercise too, is to help clarify even what do you honestly think is uniquely compelling about you and what you're offering there. Because I find that clients a lot of times run into kind of a wall of, I don't know, like what I would do because I don't know, I don't feel like we're that unique. Because I'll often talk about, competing on amazing, not competing on cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
So to compete on amazing, what does that mean? And I think it involves that the educational piece, your credibility. It involves connecting with people, communicating things, and it involves uh, what I like to call ethical influence, which is really another way of saying the selling piece, right? So it's like, how am I, but which parts are people not really delivering on? But sometimes it's like, I don't know what we're the best at, or I'll even say go beyond seeing what are you the best at. Like, can you frame it that you're the only ones who, right? And people go, because that they would, even if they were far away, or even like for you relative to the beans, it's like, I'm not probably going to be driving there for my cup of coffee, but there's something amazing about this.
Yeah.
I have a dental client that is in New York that he said recently that 70 to 80% of the patients who come see him fly to him from other states and even out of the country. Well, I'm now kind of using that when I'm thinking about people and competing on amazing, to think, what would that need to look like to move in that direction? I'm not saying people are going to come from that far, that they need to come from that far away, but to have a chance of it being a little bit like that.
Yeah.
What is it that stands out about you that is that incredible that people might even think of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a cool way of going, because then it stimulates, like, we probably are more amazing in some ways than we're thinking on a daily basis. And if we really can't come up with something, then there's where we start, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then being able to, once you've maybe clarified that, allow yourself to own that uniqueness and that amazingness. Like the dental clinic who has people who flies in across the country to come to them. Like, how cool would it be to like even visually show a map and have all the places people have flown in from?
Yeah.
Or like we serve clients who come from, like we're in New York all the way from LA or something. Like,
Right.
how cool would that be to
Yeah.
like own that?
Yeah.
That gives you huge credibility as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly does.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times we're playing too small, we're thinking too small, that our impact is probably greater or could be greater, maybe with a little creativity or a little self-reflection. And then maybe it's just a call to level our game up to the next level, right? So
Yeah, exactly. And it's also a great way to just have fun. Like social media doesn't have to feel like this thing that we have to do and so much work. Like, can you show the playfulness of your clinic and your office and have fun doing it? Um, and that can also change the dynamic of how your dental practice feels if you allow that to be a fun experimental experience for everybody.
yeah, which is probably good because most people are not thinking about the word fun when they think about dental offices, right? So
No, it's true. It's very easy, and I'm guilty of this as well, of just getting into the grind of the day, right? Getting into it. There's so much to do. I'm so busy. How can we like pause and allow this to have a little bit of joy and then showcase that joy?
yeah,
And you can really see it in a dental clinic as well, or any business when you can tell that their team is having a good time creating the content they're doing, showcasing the community involvement that they're part of and their values. I know there's a local dental clinic here who has a unofficial but office dog. A dog doesn't come to the office, but it's the owner's dog, and he'll like showcase the dog on his socials quite
yeah,
a bit. So I often associate that with that dental practice, which is
yeah,
really cool.
yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I love your ACS framework. I think that's I like little acronyms and
Yeah.
that. And but I think that really covers the range of what's meaningful very well. Of anything else as we wrap up that I didn't ask, anything else you think would be meaningful to share for our audience?
Yeah. One just last quick thing about the ACS framework, and I often get asked this question is, all right, so I have this ACS framework. How much of the A content should I be creating, the C and the S? And so if you're creating, let's say 4 to 5 posts a week, I would say about 60% of your content should be the authority and awareness content. 20% about the connection content and 20% your selling content. Um, or if you're doing just 3 posts a week, then 1 A content, awareness and authority content, 1 connection content, and 1 selling content piece. So that can be really helpful to help people rotate through and make sure they're creating this holistic experience online for their followers.
Yeah, make sure that they're not camping on one because they're more comfortable there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We haven't done a selling one in months. What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And it's amazing how important it is to just make sure you have that constant brand awareness, just because you just never know. Well, honestly, the amount of people who come to your social media now, even sometimes more than your website, is incredible. So you want to show that you're relevant. You want to showcase the type of office environment or dental practice you're creating, and you want to make it clear who you're serving. And so your social media can definitely help with that.
That's great. That's great. So
Yeah.
when does your book come out discussing?
I should write a book. I'll chat with you about that.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Or,
a goal.
or at least, a how-to guide, if not a complete book, I don't
Yeah.
know. So for everybody who's like going, oh, well, not only is this valuable content, but they love your energy like I do, then what would be the best way to connect with you and learn more about, get more of your wisdom and find out how you could maybe be of help?
Yeah, for sure. So my business is called Brittany Miller Biz. So Brittany spelled Brittany, because there's like a million ways to
Yeah.
spell Brittany.
Yes.
And then Miller, Miller, Biz, Biz. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I am most active, as well as Instagram. And the handle's the same, Brittany Miller Biz. You will find me. Or you can visit my website at brittnymiller.biz. And if anyone has any questions about even having me come and audit their content and help give them a strategy moving forward, or is like, we have a team member who we could really train up to be able to do this, more than happy to chat with them. Or if they have any dentistry conferences coming up, I would love to come and share and provide a workshop or a training on this topic.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. This has been a real pleasure. I have enjoyed meeting you and speaking with you, and valuable input, I think, on an important topic. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much, Matthew. This was great.
Yeah, good. So thanks everybody for watching. This is Matthew Norton, The Truth Behind Dentistry. We've been with Brittany Miller, and I'm certain you've got some actionable strategies to take away from this. I hope you'll reach out to her. I hope you'll subscribe, tell other people about our podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.